I want to list out very quickly the 6 primary things that every sales manager needs to know. If you don't know these, or you don't know even one of them, it can cause major slips and slides. The first is obviously your ability to identify, attract, interview, and hire quality staff. If you don't know how to do this and you let one of the wrong people in, it spells disaster. You've all had people who worked for you who you hired them in the interview and they all seemed very fine and very enthusiastic and turned out to be a close relative to Attila the Hun and just created mayhem through your sales room. In point of fact, if you look through your sales room and you spot these serious people, these guys who are walking around with a hunted look on their face, this is an interesting and bad indicator, actually, in crew. It indicates somebody who isn't trained. In any case, you need to understand these fundamentals of hiring: how to identify who you want, how to attract them to the interview in the first place, how to interview them, how to hire them. This is very critical. So many problems in a business are caused because you're trying to train the wrong people, people who can't be trained. There are a couple of barriers, first of all, to a good staff member. These things you need to understand if you're going to target this public. Number one, if you find somebody who already thinks he knows everything there is to know about what you're doing, this is a bad indicator because he can't be trained. In this day, in this age, you must be able to train your people. If the person already considers he already knows, that's the first barrier to learning any subject. They are not hireable for that reason. You've got to be able to train people. This is a very important fundamental. The second factor is, of course, the person doesn't have his own purpose for learning the material. If, for example, you're watching this video, you have your own purpose for listening, or you just turn it right off. What's the point? This is fully optional. You don't have to watch this. You don't have your own purpose? Then turn it off. Remember back in school, you were taking courses. If you have this education, this university education and so on, you found yourself sitting in classes wondering, why the hell am I here? What in the world am I doing? But you still took it because it was a so-called requirement. Well, there's nothing required about this. You've got to be educated in a way that aligns with your own purpose, and you've got to know that there's something there to be learned. This is a key ingredient of anybody you're going to be interviewing for a position on your sales staff. Okay, so that handles the hiring part. The second part we're going to take up with you is training. You've got to know not only what to train them on, but how to train them. It's extremely important. There are, as we already mentioned, 2 barriers to learning, but there are also 3 barriers to studying. These barriers to study carry over into the actual sales process itself. We need to show you those and show you how to remove those barriers so that your salespeople get as much out of every training session as they possibly can. Obviously, a trained person is a competent person, one who can do what he's doing while he's doing it. Okay, that's training. The third is the ability to spot a vampire. There's a so-called vampire personality. It's a very interesting person, has 12 personality characteristics, very distinctive, easily observed when you know what you're looking for. Fortunately, only 2.5% of the population have these personality characteristics altogether. If you hire one of these, you're out of business in no time. Your sales stats will plummet. Date coincident with hiring this person, things start to go bad. You've got to be able to spot this person. Now, truthfully, the hiring process involves procedures that automatically sift these people out. So if you understand how to correctly hire, you won't be hiring any vampires. But that's not the only place you need to spot vampires. You need to spot vampires in other places in your own company, and you need to spot a vampire who comes in as a potential prospect. Even that person walking in the door, you try to sell a vampire, you feel like you've been completely depleted as they're walking out. No sale, and then for the next month or two, your production is crippled as a result of dealing with these people. So you've got to be able to spot vampires. Very important. Not only must you be able to spot them, you need to be able to repair the damage they create, having experienced the presence of a vampire. This is quite a dramatic personality. Again, a very small minority of the population have these personality characteristics, but they affect directly another 1 in 5. So you have a great likelihood of running into these people on a daily basis. You've got to be able to spot them, correctly identify them, and then they don't have this effect on you. It's quite fantastic, this material. Okay, next point, There are things called conditions. You need to understand that there are conditions in life, and conditions change. A condition is an operating state. Your car can be in a great condition, or it can be in a terrible condition. But in point of fact, there are 12 specific and precise conditions. This material is unbelievable for running a sales room, a company, a family, anything you are applying this material to. There are actually 12 conditions in life. For example, a person can be confused. That is a condition. There are specific things that one does to resolve the confusion condition. When you apply those specific things, the condition is handled and your condition improves. When you apply the next condition, when the formula for the next condition, each of these conditions has a formula, and when you apply that formula to that appropriate condition, the condition improves, 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 improves. Confusion at the bottom and power at the top. And they perform the bookends of this entire process, one after the other. Interestingly enough, you can manage an organization by statistics, by observing the slant of the line on the statistics shows you which condition you're in. It actually takes all the worry out of what to do next. These are the step-by-step things you do 100% of the time, and they are natural laws. They don't work because I'm telling you they work. You've got to get your own wits around this and make up your own mind about it. It's got to be true for you, or it's not true. But I assure you, you'll find these conditions to be some of the most fascinating things you've ever studied. Okay, next point is sales fundamentals. After these learning fundamentals and the study fundamentals that we were talking about, you need to understand the sales fundamentals themselves. There's not an infinity of these. But when sales fundamentals are out, there's no selling going on. Now, sales fundamentals do not include a knowledge of your product and service. They don't include your marketing lines and that sort of stuff. We're talking about sales fundamentals, the fundamentals in the sales process itself, that when they are absent, it results in failed sales every time. There is no question that a missing fundamental equals failed sale. If fundamentals are in, you will sell. It's really that simple and that powerful. These fundamentals are not known. None of this material, in point of fact, is known. Generally, that's why we've taken the sales manager industry and targeted this particular industry, because nobody in this industry is aware of these materials we're talking about. It's quite fantastic. For an example of a sales fundamental, you understand that when you go in to communicate with somebody, if you insult a person, they're not going to buy from you. That's a fundamental. Salespeople inadvertently insult their prospects on a daily basis, compulsively, chronically, because they don't understand this fundamental. When you understand the fundamental, this stops occurring. When you understand the fundamental, other things that resulted from not having the fundamental in place discharge and blow away. For example, the false data that you need to look somebody in the eye when you're talking with them. This is false information. The false data that he who talks first loses. We've all heard this in the sales business. It's not only false information, it's extremely inaccurate and can actually get you into trouble. But why is this? Well, when you understand the fundamental, you go, oh man, that's why that is. That's fantastic. It's quite therapeutic, as a matter of fact, to learn this material. Anyway, give us a chance. Give us a chance to talk to you, to educate you, to show you some of these materials, and we would absolutely love to contribute to your motion as a sales manager, to become the sales manager that you know you can be. Thanks very much for listening.